This stream contains fast-flashing images that may affect viewers who are susceptible to photosensitive epilepsy or other photosensitivities. Viewer discretion is advised.
All right, we got 1 minute, guys. 1 minute's alive.
A few weeks ago, we had Valen on this desk. Can you believe he's going to be playing on this stage next year?
Yeah, it's nuts. It feels like such a big moment for him. Like, is this something like you get a card or like a gift for? It feels like a big occasion.
Wait a minute, I have the perfect idea.
What?
Pizza party!
Pizza party isn't the solution to everything.
And the breadsticks.
Girl, look at me. Of course the solution to everything.
All right, let's do this.
Let's go!
Buena, weón!
What a shot! Ay, ay, ay!
Yes, Last Chance Qualifier.
Today, two teams are fighting for a chance to make it to the grand final. You get a win or you go home. Hello, everyone, and welcome to VCT Americas LCQ lower bracket final. Say that 5 times fast. Right here out of the Riot Games Arena in amazing Los Angeles, California. I'm Golden Boy. We're here on the desk. I got Valen. I got Mimi. I got Sean Garris. But most importantly, you made it!
We made it.
You did the thing, man.
Yep.
Congratulations, first and foremost. And also, this is a nice little reunion for the three of us here, because the last time we were able to do this together was with Challengers, right? Like 2 years ago or last year. Honestly, time is elusive to me. But first and foremost, man, congratulations. The guard takes home the Ascension title. How'd that feel, man?
It felt really good. I would say it was like a delayed gratification because at the moment when I won, it felt good, but I didn't really feel. Now that I'm back in LA, back at the studio, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be playing on the stage. It feels insane. Like, thank God. I can't wait for next year.
Does it feel extra good knowing that you guys all stuck together at the guard? Like, I know you guys talked about in interviews how people were getting offers. It was a risk to stay together, to play Challengers, to finally get that win and make it after making all those sacrifices. Does that just make it so much better?
Yeah, it's so rewarding knowing that my guys decided to stay together, like you said, because we did have offers from like other teams. We wanted to be picked apart because we were playing very good at the time. But we sat down, we're like, yo, we want to build this thing together. We want to get in the league together because we know that we benefit off of each other. We play better with each other. So to say that we made it and to say that we went the full way together is just so special. So grateful.
And you even took out like the key team that was defeating you online a lot, M80. You guys beat them back to back actually at this tournament. How did that feel to finally like have the upper hand in the head-to-head? Yeah,
I mean, with LAN, I would say we had the upper hand because we had the experience going into it. Previously, we played Reykjavik last year. We played Terek X Ludwig Invitational.
Won that.
Yeah, we won that. So we had the experience going into it and the confidence. So we knew that we had the upper hand that whole entire series, and it showed.
What was the Brazilian crowd like? Because they were really rooting for you. Is
God.
it a good taste for what's to come in Americas?
I wish you guys could experience that. The Brazilian crowd was incredible, and it felt like we were the home team back in Sao Paulo because they're all cheering for us every time we went around. I think the biggest dopamine hit I've ever had was winning a clutch on LAN. I felt like the king himself. Dude, actually, like when I came off the chariot, it was like that every time. But yeah, no, the crowd was incredible. I'm so grateful for you guys back in Brazil for cheering for us, and that's a preview of what's going to happen in Americas.
Ooh, I like that. Well, you know what, man, we're really excited, but today it's time to work. So let's go ahead and get to work here and talk about what we have planned for y'all today. Because look at this bracket here. But anyone would have thought that this would have been a reality in this current timeline that we're in right now. Crew in the grand finals awaiting the winner of C9 and Leviatán. Cloud9, a team that we were all convinced was going to be just sailing through this LCQ, and a very game and hungry Leviatán. They will, of course, the winner of that, like I said before, will take on Crew tomorrow. Mimi, you couldn't have asked for a more surprising, perplexing, yet highly entertaining bracket.
Yeah, I think this would have been a lot of people's finals, looking at the bracket ahead of time for Leviatán to make a run back, for Cloud9, obviously. I think really the strong favorite coming into this one. But today, one of them has to get home. And the thing is that if you win this, you're not even there yet. You still have to beat Crew in that final. So this tournament has just continued to just break expectations.
How crazy is it the way you said it? You still have to beat Crew in the finals.
And that's like a hard thing.
It's like an impossible thing to do, it feels like right now. Beat them in a best of 5 where they have 2 bans, the way they've looked. I've never even seen a bracket like that created where they had to win 2 single elimination best of 3s to even get to the double elimination portion of the bracket, which is where Cloud9 and Leviatán started.
Yeah.
Look where we find them today.
They haven't lost a match after going 0-10 the entire year.
Yeah, and talking about going 0-10, I feel like when you have that many losses, it's kind of cliche, but you do learn a lot, especially when you have talented players like with the players on Crew. You're going to be soaking in a lot of that information of why you lost those games. And if you remember correctly, a lot of those games were very close, like 10-13 or 11-13 matches, overtime games. So it's not like they were losing by large margins. I was like, oh, this team's just not good. They're getting there, and with how they're looking this LCQ, I wouldn't be surprised if they take the whole.
Our team's working.
Tell you what, we're going to talk about that and so much more. But of course, we want to hear from you, lovely people back at home as well, and we want you to share your thoughts. Where your sympathies lie, rather. Is it with C9 and their redemption arc? Maybe you're rooting for the LATAM El Clasico as we have a potential Leviatán Crew matchup. Make sure you use the hashtags VALORANT LCQ as well as VCT so we can feature your tweets on the broadcast. Make sure you say nice things. In any case, though, now over the past 2 weeks, we have seen some incredible play on this stage, as well as a few aces. So we sat down with Klaus, Leaf, and a few other pros for their thoughts on those unforgettable moments. Take a look.
Chosen finally opens up the site for a bit. The showstopper out. Klaus also spikes that down. The plat coming down, and that's a 14 ace for Klaus.
Acá Kenny te iba a matar a todos y pobre no pudo. Esa fue ahí ya la gané. Ahí ya no importa más el ace, ahí ya la gané y no hay mucho que decir. O sea, es un ace así medio normal porque estaban ellos contra el tiempo y no hay mucho que decir. Me gustó igual haberme arriesgado así y también el kill más importante fue el de la Viper, así que estoy feliz con eso.
Me acuerdo de este porque de hecho esa ult que tiene se la dropé yo. Creo que la segunda kill en el de corta fue como lo que aseguró la ronda. Aquí. Sí. Mata la bomba y luego mata el de corta, que es literalmente el segundo jugador más cercano a ir a plantar la bomba. Entonces, como no, pues mata a 2, con eso asegura la ronda. Y ya el tercero y los últimos 2 son literalmente un extra porque pues, la ronda ya estaba ganada, pero igualmente les dio doble head a ambos. Entonces...
Murió, el plan, no se muestren. ¡Buena, Klaus!
¡Vamos! ¡Amasaste, Klaus, weón! Hermano, se fue la silla.
Buena, Nico, por esta dropeé la ult, let's go!
Him being able to like hit all those shots under such time pressure with like everyone coming at him at once and the time running so low, there's a lot of pressure, so it's hard to hit those shots. So I think that's the most impressive part.
I mean, he's got the Reckoning to scale up with, he's got the cover of the lockdown, and he's got a kill onto 10.
I mean, there's miscommunication there. 10's not really aware how far Leaf is.
Yeah, he's already netted himself a second one with the third, possibly. Pancada, oh, it's actually Mark, but Pancada may have found a timing here.
This guy's just farming.
He's tucked behind the orb, and he doesn't land the shots. Leaf's on the courts for an ace. And Zekin's on the other side. He's got the op. Last round of the half. No reason to convert it, and Leaf delivers.
Just everything kind of just grew into like one-on-ones and stuff like that. I didn't like purposely do it like that. It's just kind of the way the round crumbled.
You guys want to put something or no? Forward, nice, back up.
Yeah, back up. We have 4 mollies.
I'm flashing. 2-1. One more.
Reclearing out.
Come back then. Go super late.
I have a turret you can fight with. Just go crazy, Nate.
I'm just gonna fight her.
Go feel it.
Yeah, keep going, Nathan.
Art.
Nice. Keep going, Nathan.
Flower left. Ace.
Left side flower or secret now. He might have wrapped around.
No! Go!
Nathan, keep fighting, guys.
Yeah, nice shot. Gets the entry. It makes it hard for us. Just being a menace. That's the great thing about Leaf. He just plays annoying, so pretty hard to stop. Plays for his team, tries to be a menace. He knows his job, he knows his role. I've known Leaf for a really long time, ever since Counter-Strike, and he's always been a confident player. Yeah, I know he's confident.
I normally don't get a lot of aces. I usually get 4Ks and then it cuts off right there. But it feels good to get an ace.
There you can see some of the reactions from the players there. We actually have a player on the desk. We might as well ask and get your thoughts on it too, because I mean it truly is an exhilarating feeling, but also you need all the pieces to kind of like line up in order for you to get that.
Yeah, oftentimes with the ace, it just kind of falls into your hands, like how Leaf was saying, how the round just crumbled into his favor, getting the 1v1s. Because oftentimes if you're getting peeked by multiple people or a lot of utility, you're not going to get all the kills, right?
Yeah.
So it falls in your favor, but it's such a good feeling when you get one of those aces because the morale of the team is just highly boosted. You guys are getting hyped up. The individual player has the potential to just pop off and take over because he's just so amped of getting that ace for sure. Especially on stage, like you got the crowd cheering your name, bro. It's so lit.
It's an atmosphere that truly is unparalleled. I can't even imagine it, of course. But let's go ahead though and refocus ourselves on the matchup today, because today's lower final, it's a rematch from playoffs. We actually saw these two teams face off against each other in the lower bracket, and Cloud9 eliminated Leviatán and, most importantly, denied them that trip to Masters Tokyo. Maybe.
And the lead up to this matchup is the very same as that one in the regular season in playoffs. It was where Cloud9 came in looking like a favorite to make it to Tokyo, and then they crumbled in one of their upper bracket matches, went down, and ended up just barely squeaking out this win over Leviatán. Obviously a little bit more dominant on that final map, but this is what people kind of thought that Cloud9 could be back. They ended up not being able to make the run happen then, but with that elimination, now here in LCQ, the question is, with that same kind of faltering, that same choke in the upper bracket, can Cloud9 actually rally back and make that run into the finals, as everyone I think expected them to do before the event?
I think we did all expect them to do that. When we showed the stats earlier on in the tournament, they were #1 in everything in the regular season. Even like maps lost, their round differential was insane. We expect them to be in the grand finals. But oddly enough, today against Leviatán, this is anyone's game, right? I've heard so many rumors behind the scenes for so long that this Leviatán team, they just play with so much confidence in their scrims, and they're just bodying teams like Cloud9 in scrims. Now, things could go different today in the server, but I think Leviatán, based on what I saw in that last game against Sentinels, they're here to play it. And the players are willing to take risks, probably like they take in practice.
And Valen, I'm sure with that loss last time to Cloud9, there is that extra motivation for Leviatán to make this run happen.
No, for sure. And I think Cloud9 and Leviatán are the complete opposites right now, because Cloud9 was looking incredible previously, and now I'm starting to see them a little shaky, especially when they go down maps. Like they look like they kind of tighten up. And Leviatán is the complete opposite right now. They've been losing a lot in the past, but now with that win over Sentinels, I think they're kind of getting that spark, that energy boost that the team needs to know that they can make this run happen.
Well, you know, it's just the fact that you walk onto the stage, you've been holding L's for a good chunk of the year, and then you manage to find yourself that first win. It truly is an invigorating feeling, and I think that is what we're seeing right now from Leviatán, from Crew, right? And Cloud9 is definitely going to need to find that here, because Cloud9 has been an incredible pressure, under incredible pressure, mind you, because, you know, the thing is, like, as we noted before, history could potentially repeat itself. C9 could potentially get close. They have to get through Leviatán first and then find a way to get through Crew. But they are right there. And for them to miss another global event would be truly a heartbreaker.
Yeah, twice in 1 year would be brutal for these guys. And the thing is that Cloud9, every time we see them, even at the start of LCQ, they just look so good. That first matchup they played was clean. Their players were on peak form. They were continuing to show us new ideas with their compositions. They're so proactive at adapting. But in some of these big games, they just falter. And I think that's what happened against Crew after winning a dominant map 1. I mean, they almost got 13-0'd.
Yeah. We're just, we don't want to see that happen here. And Valen, obviously that comes with, as maybe had mentioned, right? Like, you're playing not to lose at that point, which is not a good feeling to have, right?
No, it's definitely a terrible feeling. It's always the common saying of play to win, don't play not to lose.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big confidence thing for the team, especially a team like Cloud9. When you watch them perform well, when you watch them pop off, I think they are a confidence-based team. You see Zelsis getting super amped, fist bumping his boys. Like, they're a very outgoing team.
Yeah.
And when you're not playing well and everyone kind of shuts down, that spreads like wildfire, because it's one thing to be super amped up and hyped when you win, but if you rely too much on the emotional side, when you start losing, that could start backfiring as well. But I think Cloud9 this time around, with that loss, they kind of reground themselves, kind of reset their priorities as a team, and I think we're going to be able to see a much more clean Cloud9.
Yeah.
I even think that today, it's a little bit different than those other games. You look at their maps played so far, they've won 3 maps where they have game footage of their opponents right before. All 3 maps they've lost, Fracture versus Sentinels, and both of those games previously against Crew, they had 0 footage to work on. Crew previously didn't play Pearl. They didn't play Haven. So Cloud9 had no idea what to expect. I think that changes a little bit today because Leviatán likely has footage. They're a lot more readable team. And this is where someone like MCE can finally show his worth. And that was something we saw throughout the regular season.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And this also sets up, players like Leaf as well to potentially become the openers that the team desperately needs because he has been so great all season long. Actually, here's what Leaf had to say when Cloud9 got knocked out in the playoffs by NRG. So this is way back in May, talking about grass number qualifying, sorry for playing poorly when it mattered. And obviously, that they're cursed, third time being one BO3 away from an international LAN and losing. And that is the thing that sticks to me, Sean, because it is a thing that is like hovering over your head, and that is not a good feeling to have when you take that stage.
Yeah, if you believe in the curse, I feel like it becomes a curse. Yeah, you're actually activating it at that point because now it's some kind of mental block that your team might have. That does worry me a little bit. How do you feel about that?
Well, I would also say the opposite could happen where he's just so motivated that he can't let this happen again.
Yeah.
But it kind of depends on the person, right? If you really believe that you're cursed, obviously you're going to be a little nervous when you go on stage. You're going to think, oh, I can't let this happen again, which kind of clouds your vision. But, I think for a player like Leaf, he's very confident. He's going to come in today feeling that he cannot let this one slip.
Yeah, well, of course, that is what I'm sure a lot of C9 fans are hoping for. But let's actually kind of go back a little bit to, not necessarily go back to May, but let's actually go back to when they faced off against Crew, right? And funny enough, we saw some familiar compositions as well make its way over here. But Mimi, I mean, to start with you on this, right? It felt as if it was a C9 team that was really just fishing for answers and trying to find it wherever they could. Unfortunately, just did not come to fruition.
Yeah, they tried to change things up just a little bit, still running a Viper in their composition, but doing something more similar to what you guys have been running, Valen. And their defensive side, I think they really were struggling to get value out of this one. In their retakes in particular, normally this comp is so good at flood rate taking in behind a wall, having those mollies to help you fight space in, but it wasn't working for Cloud9, and Crew ended up running them over in this map against a team who's normally so good at implementing those new comps and instantly having the right read.
Right, and so for some insight on that composition, it's really good, like you said, for flooding because you have the extra smokes to be able to get into the site and then just brawl. But the thing is that Cloud9 was doing, which in my opinion I felt like was wrong, was a lot of set retakes. They kept giving up A or letting the team walk into B for free. And I think that, that was a problem that we were facing in scrims a lot, but because we went through the issues, because we were playing the comp for so long, we got our fixes. But for these guys, they swapped the comp, so they didn't get to go through that stage of like figuring out their mistakes. Yeah, all the nuances on the composition. And I think that was the biggest reason of why they didn't look good on it. But with time, and if they rewatch the VOD, they should be able to fix it.
That's interesting that he says that because in the post-game interview, the crew member, I think Davies actually said they scrimmed against Cloud9. A lot of these teams are scrimming against each other leading up to this tournament. And he said that previously, I believe they ran like a harbor comp. So but they kind of just translated that play style into this. And that's how Crew approached the game, as if there was a harbor on the other team. Just as like a second controller.
It's quite fascinating to see how all this gets broken down, and of course how the coaches are trying to like really get the one-ups over one another as well, right? And obviously, Coach MCE, you were talking about him a little earlier on, actually has been quite open about what it's like behind the scenes during these tough losses. This is actually an excerpt that we have from an interview with esports.gg's Brandon Moore. Shout out to Brandon for crushing it as always. And it's like, you talk to different people in a different way when sometimes in matches when we're playing like, poo, and not awake, I have to be that person where I'm like, what is going on? And that is an important part of it because a lot of times, I think that there's just a general misconception, Mimi, in the community where people feel as if they understand like what the coach's role is, but sometimes the coach's role is just to motivate those players and get them ready.
I mean, the final two lines of this one, that they need to wake up, that he has to be the guy to light that fire under them because the players aren't finding the solutions by themselves, is really, really quite open for him to say. And Valen, for the whole first year of the Guard, when you guys made it all the way to Reykjavik, you played with this guy. And from the outside, it seems like he can be really harsh on his players. And do you think that's kind of like a strong suit of his coaching or a weakness? And what was it like for you playing with him?
Yeah, for me, I would say that it was definitely a strong suit from Matt because as he may tear you down or be it like kind of aggressive towards you, he also builds you back up in a way that he believes a proper player should be built. And to wake his teammates up and to get aggressive when they're, when they're down by maps or down a lot of rounds, I think it's because those players are forgetting a lot of the key fundamentals, and that's what really ticks off Matt. I know him pretty well. We've played for a while, and if you're messing up the key fundamentals or just the little things, he's going to get frustrated, and he's not a person who's going to sugarcoat it. He's going to tell you straight up. And if you're a player who can take that in, regardless of how he's saying it, you're going to come out a better individual because he's telling you straight of what you need to improve on.
And the way I perceive a team seems like kind of similar to what MC is saying there is there's going to be ebbs and flows where you're more strategic and more loose, right? The more confidence you get, the more loose you become. And eventually something like this happens and the coach just has to reel it all back in. Like, what are we doing out there? Like, it's time to reel back in more structure. So I'm expecting Cloud9 to look way more polished today than they did last week when we saw them in that game, just for that sole reason, right? He's trying to pull it all back in and get control and get more structure within the team.
And I think especially for those two young players on this team, who this is their first big shot, their first tier 1 team, having a coach like that who really knows how to build someone back up can be so important. That's what he did with you guys.
Yeah.
You guys were rookies, and you made it all the way to an international event under his leadership.
Yeah, I wanted to add, for players like Jake and Rooney, first time playing on stage, I think that pressure of your coach being hard on you and kind of just airing you out and letting you know exactly what your mistakes on helps you in the future when you have these big pressure matches, when the crowd is against you, when you're down, 12-9, and you got to make that comeback. Like, you've been through hardship, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, your coach has been grilling you. You're ready for this. You understand the moment. I still remember one time at Reykjavik, like, Matt at the end of the huddle was like, look, I'm so hard on you guys for this reason. Now just go out and have fun. And once he told me that, like, all the pressure felt relieved, you know what I mean? Like, we went through a lot, and now it's just go time.
That is a good feeling, of course. Now, obviously, as we flip it on the other side here, let's actually talk about C9's opponents here, the number 2 seed Leviatán. And we actually do have Riv standing by with King for a quick word.
King, can I grab you for a second? Here we go. All right, all right. This is quick. So, only a handful of time at the end of the season to kind of look at the faults from the regular season here. What does the team fix behind the scenes to make sure you're going to make it to the grand finals in the LCQ?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes we made is that, first of all, we had a lot of pressure in us. It was kind of the first time that we stopped being an underdog team. Like, everyone was hoping us to be a top 3 team with energy and loud. And I think we never felt that, so I think the pressure fell on our shoulders. And we tried to work like 10 times harder in such a long-term competition. And I think both those things just, I don't know, all the energy like started to fall down. And yeah, I think that was one of our biggest mistakes. And now we're taking things way more relaxed. We're feeling good. So yeah, I think with all the things we've changed, I hope we can make it to grand finals.
It's the best time to fight your stride. King, thank you so much. Back to you.
What Leviatán seems to have found there, I think, is almost similar to what Cloud9 is striving to find. Being able to balance that pressure of being a favorite, having high expectations, and also being able to be flexible and come back from these losses really well, as Leviatán did in their game versus Sentinels after starting so poorly into the season, or into this event, I should say.
And I actually found it quite fascinating that he was saying it's actually nice to not be the underdog for a change, right? and that's actually how it felt like watching them play against Sentinels. Sentinels obviously coming to this one a heavy favorite, Sean. But it was all anyone could talk about was Leviatán because so many players were stepping up, even when it looked like they were on the brink of, crumbling again.
Yeah, and I think it's the opposite route of Cloud9, right? The coach owner gave them an air of like freedom to the team, right? These double duelist comps like on Split and Fracture. And the way they ran it just gave so much power to the players for peaks like this from Taco, where we saw him an entire season feel shelled and boxed, afraid to peek these angles. I didn't see that at all in the Sentinel series. And once he came to life on Fracture, I feel like there was no putting it back. Like, it was over at that point when Taco came to life.
It seemed like there was two sides of Leviatán. Like, the early stage, like last year, they were all about the chaos and these individual plays taking a risk to break from their structure. Whereas this year, it was all the structure all the time, which works up until teams have VODs of you. But it seemed like in that series, they were starting to find a balance of that style that they'd been lacking for so long. And that little bit of freedom, I think, really helped propel them to that very dominant win.
Oh, it most definitely did. And we'll of course see how this kind of works out for them as we get ready for this matchup. But and kind of talking about that, right? Like, King, Taco, these are names that we always talk about on this team as guys who step up. But what ended up happening was that Mizzino and Shy has been exquisite exit this LCQ, by the way. It took over, and that has to be like a really wonderful feeling, right? When you have, yeah, you know, your duelists aren't necessarily doing the things that they need to do, but the supporting cast stepping up, that has to feel great.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's what makes teams great, is when your duelists aren't stepping up, when your players who are normally expected to kind of get a lot of the key kills for you aren't stepping there. I think it's big for players like Shy and Mazzino to be able to, you know, step up and get a lot of the key frags, a lot of the trades, close out post pens. Like, they look like stars out there. You know what I mean? They look like the main duelist.
Yeah.
I mean, those two duelists started off on Fracture. I keep saying it, like 1-9 and 2-10. How is it possible that they walked away from that game with that score line that they had? They blew Sentinels out with both duelists starting like that.
And they lost both pistol rounds in that map as well. It was ridiculous. And it was like these guys, the half that Shy had in particular was incredible
he's been
on
amazing.
Fracture. Like, it feels like the entirety of Leviatán individually has leveled up while also finding a much better balance in their style.
Yeah, and something to add is that when you're playing the double duelist comps, oftentimes you are going to see the support staff step up because you have all this entry power in front of you, and your teammates are creating so much space, like with the Ray Satchels and with the Jet Dash, that when you are supporting your entries, you have so much space to work with, and your util is just to set them up and get the key trades. It makes your life kind of easy as a support.
Yeah, as long as you keep that good spacing, which honestly we've always praised Leviatán for it, and they seem to be like all over it right now on these maps.
Yeah, and if they continue to do that, we could end up seeing an all LATAM grand final here for the LCQ, which would be bonkers. But our coaches are actually standing by, MC and owner, as we are going to get ready for the map picks and bans. So let's go ahead and find out where we're headed.
All right, we're back with the VCT LCQ map pick ban. We have C9 against LEV for a best of 5. C9, you guys are further in the winner's bracket, so you have team select. So C9 selects team A, which means LEV, you guys are team B. So we'll start with the bans. C9, can you ban a map?
We'll ban Fracture.
Fracture. Okay, and LEV, can you ban a map?
Ban Ascent.
Ascent? Okay. Let's go to the picks. So C9, pick map 1.
Lotus.
Lotus. And LEV, what side on Lotus? Defense. Okay, for map 2, LEV, what map?
The big Pearl.
Pearl. And C9, what side on Pearl?
Attack.
Attack. Okay, C9 for map 3.
Big split.
Split. And LEV, what side on split? Defense. Okay, LEV for map 4. Haven. And C9 will side on Haven. Attack, which means map 5 will be bind, and C9 will side on bind.
Defense.
Defense. Okay, we can go over it again. With bans, we have C9 banning Fracture and LEV banning Ascent. Map 1 is Lotus with LEV on defense. Map 2 is Pearl with C9 on attack. Map 3 is Split with LEV on defense. Map 4 is Haven with C9 on attack. And map 5 is Bind with C9 on defense. Good luck, have fun.
Good luck, guys.
Okay, so we saw what the maps are. Sean, I want to get your quick reactions on this. What do you think?
I'm a little scared for C9. I'm not gonna lie. I was saying, I thought Leviatán played Crew pretty well on Lotus. It's just Crew had all of the right decisions in all of the right moments and completely shut down LEV. But they actually picked Lotus, I believe, in that series. So they're comfortable on that. Their Pearl is definitely their go-to map, and I think people have been terrified of it, so that's why we haven't seen it. And honestly, I'm just a little scared for Cloud9 right now. I'm just a little scared.
I think a lot does hinge on this Lotus, because through the whole season, this was like their best map. They were kind of innovating the comp that everyone started picking up here. But I think there could be a world where Leviatán upsets there. And then at that point, I think Pearl and Split look pretty positive for that LATAM squad.
You know, for sure, especially Split leading into the double duelist that they like. I mean, they could be a big upset. But I also want to talk about C9 picking attack on the first 2 picks because they're starting attack on all 4 maps, and what that does for a team is, because I like the same strategy, basically you're just controlling the pace of the game. You get to, as an IGL, you get to call the pacing instead of playing on defense and having to react to the other team a lot. So I think that's a new strategy for Cloud9 to start attack for a lot of these maps, especially on Haven. I like that pick. So they're coming out with more confidence this time around.
I do like it as well, because starting on attack, you can kind of dictate that like 3-on-1 on a defender, right? So aim is less important in that moment. It's more about the tactics, so you can kind of settle into the games if you start on attack.
All right, real quick, let's get some brief predictions in. I'm curious. Mimi, you haven't talked for a while. Who you got?
Cloud9, I think they've had some time off to look back on the mistakes they made, hopefully get that mental under control. Last time in the same situation, they beat Leviatán. I think they will again.
Fallon?
I'm going to say 3-2 Cloud9. We're going to all 5 maps. It's going to be a banger.
Sean?
I'll go against the grain. I'm going Leviatán 3-2.
Ooh, okay. Well, this is going to be awesome. I can't wait. And it seems like our top 2 seeds are ready to go. And they have one shot at making it to the grand final tomorrow. And champions Los Angeles is on the line. It's Cloud9 versus Leviatán, a best of 5 as VCT Americas LCQ lower bracket final starts right now.
The goal this year is to be able to go to champions.
The pressure is on.
Let's go!
Parece que ganarle a todos.
Skills do capitão ele quer mais. Oh, looking for the transfer, and he's gonna get it! What are you guys fucking doing? First miss, the second does not!
Para você ser o melhor, você tem que ganhar dos melhores.
Buena, weón!
Anyone can take any game off one another.
Saucy gets free! And the B-slider's now open! What a shot! Ay, ay, ay! Sensacional!
Desde el último partido que jugamos no entramos con la mentalidad de Last Chance. Tipo, el partido nos hizo realizar en dónde estábamos parados y yo creo que la victoria demuestra mucho de lo que volvió a ser nuestra esencia de equipo.
Si no me equivoco, va a llegar. No, no llega. ¡Llegó! ¡No duerme!
Asino que pone 3 certificaciones.
I think we still have the advantage. We just have to go into the next match with our heads high and ready to, play the game.
3v1 Leave to hold off the 13-0.
Can Leaf's just playing with them.
Celsius still dancing around.
Celsius with the Red Bull clutch.
Boys! They're so aggressive! Looking for the fourth to put him away, and he does.
Estamos dedicando al 100% a esto. Es el tiempo que no estamos con nuestros amigos, con nuestras familias y que realmente poder recoger el fruto de eso sería súper importante.
I mean, hopefully we can show up the next match, lower finals, and it's LCQ, last chance for everyone, so who knows who's gonna win.
Riot Games Arena, put your hands together for your first seed. It's Celsius, Jake, Rooney, Zeppa, Leaf, and Coach MCE. It's Cloud9!
Are you ready for this? Ready to take chances? Will you push and break your limits? Are you ready to be a legend? It's time to storm the fortress. It's time to fight on the battlefield. Are you made for greatness? Writing history? Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? To be a champion, to change the system. Can you start a revolution? This is your moment. Are you ready to fight? To be fearless. This is the time for joy, for greatness. Are you ready for this? Standing in front of the enemy line, you gotta be a soldier. Your soul burns like a wildfire. The fight is not yet over. You're adrenaline.
Y en el otro lado, intentando llegar a una final 100% latinoamericana. Tacolilla, Noswork, King, Shine, Masino, Coach Onur, Leviatán!
I gotta push through the pain, cause really that's how you build muscle. I gotta stay in my lane, I gotta stay in my zone. You know I'm paving the way to make sure my people are known. Known as some fighters, ain't nobody higher. You don't need a lighter, I'm bringing the fire. Nobody better, they feel in my presence. I'm known as a legend, but you call me sire. I'm too legit, man, I overcommit. Oh no, I never quit, but I'll make you retire. Say you a winner, but man, I don't buy it. Addicted to grinding, man, you gotta try it. don't want nothing for free. I'm here to work. Only one spot for me. I gotta be first. I'm who they all wanna be. Come through your worst. I've been through the dirt. I've been through the dirt. I don't want nothing for free. I'm here to work. Only one spot for me. I gotta be first. I'm who they all wanna be.
This was a matchup that we all thought we were going to see in the grand finals of the LCQ, Cloud9 versus Leviatán, but instead they find themselves in the lower bracket final and fighting for that last spot in the grand finals, that last spot in Champions Los Angeles.
If you looked at the regular season, having these teams at an international event representing Americas seemed inevitable. Cloud9 was on a run. They looked like a favorite into the playoffs, lost out there, and they slip into the lower bracket again in LCQ. And the question is, in the same situation as last time, against Leviatán, in the lower bracket, can they rally this time, make it to the grand finals, or will Leviatán have their first shot at an international event since lock-in?
It all seems so similar for Cloud9 right now. Going against the team that's on the heater. Back then it was EG, now it's Crew. They find themselves in the lower brackets against a very, very strong team that has made many international appearances in Leviatán. Last time it was NRG, it went 3 maps. They lost 14-12 to not make it to Masters. Today, again, I feel like it's going to be tested deep in this series, deep in the games. This is not going to be a blowout in Cloud9's favor, and I think their mental needs to be strong.
Right, but because the last time they were so close versus NRG, I think they have the mental resilience this time around. They learn. Every time you go through these losses, you learn on, okay, what was missing? What do we need in order to come out on top? And we need to see if Cloud9's going to start strong or if Leviatán is going to come out with the heater they've been on.
Leviatán, though, they have rallied in this lower bracket. Their game versus Sentinels very dominant, and they too have had their share of losses to learn from. Throughout Americas, they were too structured, really. They lent into the same things over and over again and got punished by better prepared squads. But here they have had a chance to reinvent themselves and found this balance, adding more on-the-fly plays, more risks into the equation, and I think it has made them look much better. And for Cloud9, I think my biggest question is, when they get punched the first time, you lose a map, something doesn't go your way, how is the mental going to hold out? Because in the last 2 situations that they were in, it didn't work out for them. They ended up snowballing out of control. They have to show that that mental is far more resilient now.
Yeah, I mean, this is, look, at the end of the day, right, it is a video game, but when you're playing at this level, and these players are all equal in as far as their skill, it becomes that mental game. It becomes that much more profound as we jump into the Agent Select here, where we got a few raises out. Not a shocker there.
It's Lotus, though, so this is Cloud9 moving away from their composition that really defined their season. I always loved watching Leaf on the Neon here. I felt it was so adaptable, rotating on their defensive side, but it seems like they might go towards more of a Fnatic-esque comp. This Fade Raise seems like everyone's starting to play it, Valorant.
Yeah, they went to the Sky Raise, which Sky provides you more active information throughout the round, so I think
that is what they were playing before with the Sky.
Right, and I want to say that the Raze is more static on defense because with the Neon, what Cloud9 love to do and what other teams love to do is show aggression in one area and rotate that Neon using the sprint into another side for another engagement. I think this time around we're going to see them play more static, maybe a couple pushes here and there, but the Raze has so much stopping potential for both teams. With the Astrasuck too, so they're going to have so much synergy within each other.
It's weird. There's different synergies for each team. Like the Fade Raze combo right now starting on this defensive side of Lotus. You can easily see a lot of Paint Shell Seize combos. There's so many things that Leviatán can do.
All right, well, we are all set to kick off our lower final. So let's go ahead and get the action going and send it over to your casters. It's Doug and Bala.
Thank you so much, Golden Boy. Yeah, you look at these compositions for Cloud9 and you go, wait a second, that's weird. They were so dominant on Lotus. Why make the change? And it's not until you realize they're 5-2 on it, but their last the 2 losses that they had were their most recent appearances on the map, and it was in playoffs.
Yeah, brutal. And I just have to continue thinking about what the Death touched about MCE and how brutal he was on the team in the last one. So going through and making a change, I think everybody's fired up when you see something like that. And they've also been changing quite a lot on other maps too, bringing a lot of Viper. So not that this is anything super different in terms of that here, but the Raze is such a different tool.
And then again, as the desk was touching on, they then have made a couple of changes to how they want to approach this as well. So we'll see how the Fade does with the Raze. I think it was Valen who was saying that on the desk. It should be a very good matchup.
And in perfect Leviatán style as well. This is the comp that they brought into LCQ too. So let's see how much change we get throughout this series. And look at this immediate B pressure coming in from Leviatán, who's starting on defense. The Prowler, they take it down, control everything, put deep alarm bot.
Yeah.
And I like this from Cloud9, trying to punish that. Actually forces Taco by himself.
Wait, Leaf went through. Leaf went through the rotating door. Now they're going to want to fight for mid.
That trade could have been a lot worse there for Leviatán. The fact that Taco gets one is super important. They're not following this Trailblazer right now. Still wondering what's on the rest of that site. Is there any traps? Are there the mollies? Did we clear everything out? And instead they walk through.
Oh, it sounded like they made noise too, so they should know that C is the hit. Tap on the spike. Leaf is already in such a forward position. As soon as smoke goes down, a couple of kills are exchanged. In favor of Cloud9 though. And it's only getting better.
Can't use that yet.
That's falling off there.
Planted.
That was such a good call. Twice there, you went for contact on Cloud9. And both audibles that they called in this round were perfect. The first one to trap Tacolia inside of B main there, and then the second one to catch this spawn push unaware. So nice.
Yeah, you're already seeing a lot of fluidity, a lot of like game time decision making, adjustments on the fly that are netting them some success.
I'm super curious if both of those ideas were protocol or if it was something that they're calling on the fly. To me, it looked like protocol, the fact that they walked through that orb or that smoke at the beginning of the round together there, Zelsis and Rooney. And that's a pistol for Cloud9, something that MCE talked about was lacking for them in that series against Crew that they lost earlier in the week. They started off strong in that series as well, though. On Ascent, they stomped Crew out. It was only the next two maps where things went bad. This is what I'm talking about. Both Zelsis and Rooney, they're walking through at the same time. It's very, very nicely handled. This secondary push, too, where they Trailblazer all the way up. They push him into spawn behind the smoke, so he can't confirm the information, is so key from Cloud9. And, again, super well played.
Seems like they're expecting some aggression from Leviatán here. See how slow they are at getting out of spawn. And maybe it isn't pacey, but Leviatán do seem intent on taking some A main control.
And funny enough, they've been farming orbs for Taco on defense, which it's not something that you're used to seeing. And they're going to actually push through this Viper wall here in a second. Wait for the fuel to come down, maybe. Here it comes.
Everyone is just so closely pitched up. You see it. I mean, with the haunt there. Leviatán were able to get two, though, and that nade from Leaf was gorgeous.
Got a second one. Forces again Mazzino to be by himself there. The rest of his team can't join him.
Do they commit to trying to get out on B? There are two remaining members of Leviatán here that quickly turns into one. He falls as well. That's the second round going in favor of Cloud9.
Yeah, but despite the success that you're having there, with the nade, with the first engagements there inside of B main as Leviatán comes through, yes, they get the first kill, but everything else after that felt like it went Cloud9's way. It actually didn't. They lost 3 guns. And you're actually getting a canceled bonus here from Cloud9. They're investing 2 rifles into this one. 2 players are not going to be able to buy up in the next. King a deep orb lineup for C while he's playing on that B side. So he can help cover up. You just saw it land right there in front of Shy.
This is now the second round that they try to creep out towards C. There are 2 nanos just beneath them. Once they clear the first, that's a cue. The flash up top, and Shy has to get the space back.
And I don't think Leviatán was expecting that deep Viper orb. It was so deep in. You're allowed to pop way further into the site than you normally are.
The Prowler just split a couple members of Cloud9 without latching on anyone. And once again, you're seeing this, like, Cloud9 putting deep utility out. That nano up towards C, and they're going to creep their way around it.
Surely you can't go contact in another time.
I mean, they've done it so many times, and it's gotten them this far.
Still no spike plant.
Oh, that looked rough. Shy getting the best of Leaf.
Spike planted.
Spike finally going down. Numbers in favor of the defense.
And normally this would be a situation where Leviatán, if they were down in numbers in this case, if Cloud9 was successful, they'd be off saving. Instead now, they're going to go for this 4v3 retake.
Paranoia to make sure there's no one playing up close. But they still have to wait for this utility before they can make a move forward. And Rooney and Jake are there to greet on the other side. Falls down to a 1v2. Rooney's so weak. Zelsis isn't much better off. This is winnable. Mazzino just has to make a play here, and it's got to be fast. That's a play. Another one right beneath them. They're wrapping right around each other, but he turns around at just the wrong time. You're right. There was just not enough left on the clock to pull that off. Cloud9 get the third.
And consider the fact that Cloud9 waited for so long to put that plant down. Leviatán was literally wrapping around the site with 5 players up, and they still were not planning. They allowed the rotation to come all the way through, and it's because of things like this. They're really trying to eat into these retakes before they can strike.
Yeah.
And that's not a strategy that's going to be consistent as time goes on, because Leviatán will keep their guns out, will not get ready for the retake until they can clear out the space close to them. But it is a nice idea to come up with a bonus win like that. Leviatán buying up a couple stingers here. They're going to push B again. Maybe with a flash if there's contact. And Cloud9 want none of it. For the first time, they're going to approach this A side, and it's dry to see if they're pushing up towards Rubble or anything like that. Is there going to be aggression here with the fade raise? No? All right, we'll take the space.
You wonder if they pivot back too, given some of Rooney's utility, including the orb that's towards C.
I mean, wow. Both teams are playing incredibly scared, is what I would say so far about this game. Cloud9, again, they got information here. They peeked all the way up into this A side, and it's only now that they're pushing up. And still, they're not going through. It's only Leaf on the site, and he might get trapped up. They're pivoting back into this B side. This is the first time they're actually going to hit it without any Leviatán players being able to get this information early. So the plant will come down faster.
Shy is going to be the first on the scene, but he's kept back by the Viper wall. Gonna have to rotate around and try to approach the site from a different area. You already see the Astra Star starting to go down, courtesy of Jake, to deny any entry. And there's really not much here. I mean, Taco has his ult. But Nasr doesn't have any utility to really set him up, to really get him going.
And that wall is just so good against any B retakes. Got to make an attempt here for Lev, but not going to find anything. And it is important that they keep trying to chunk down at that econ for Cloud9 as they go up to 4. But I'm a little concerned here. As the first 4 rounds, I'm seeing Leviatán continue to deal with the same game plan. That's twice now that they push down B on the eco round. And twice now that it's not garnered anything. Now we finally do have Taco's ult, but it's met with a couple from Cloud9 too. And you also have for this gun round that extra Astra wall as well. So you don't have to fully rely on just the smokes and the Viper wall too. Early Trailblazer clears a lot, but they're regrouping again. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Prowler here. If it contacts, to see Taco send it.
That's 2 guns that have been fired, and there it is. There's a showstopper, the flash. Taco was just on the other side. Zelsis gets cleaned up.
That's a really nice play based off of what we've seen in the last couple. That's the sort of pick you want to go for, rather than fully overcommitting yourself. And you're seeing the same type of response that we saw in Pistol from Cloud9, just not able to catch anybody in this case.
They've done such a good job around playing through Rooney's utility.
The alarm bot's down right now. Nosworth. Oh! No, that's Taco, actually. Just as the wall goes up, he finds the timing to spray.
Jake just tapped. It was just a threat. The second time is much more committed. And with the nade in his lap, he's got to reposition. There's really nobody to cover King's approach here. He can creep his way forward, but instead he's waiting. Choosing not to venture out onto the site while Leaf takes plenty of space back behind him. Note, he has ult here. Jake has his ult too. But they're so close to each other. Rooney's in such a good spot, but it's gone to 1-for-1. Leaving Leaf in a 1v3, and he cannot convert.
There's the advantage garnered by Leviatán there. Taco being aggressive and then them falling into passive positions, getting extra value out of that too, while spraying safely. But you've got to love that little trap there, at least the way that Taco's able to pounce off that Prowler's information. And remember, Taco had slow starts in the past. Today, absolutely not. 4 first kills already in 5 rounds.
Very reminiscent of what we saw the last time we saw Leviatán play. They did a really good job of using utility to set up their duelists, to take aggressive angles and to make plays. Something that was lacking the majority of the season.
And this is unfortunate though. There's 3 ults now online for Cloud9. Still Taco finds the kill though.
Off of the haunt, that's so well done.
And they had the Prowler and Paranoia to fall back on. Cloud9 in trouble. And this is super important because this is a huge round here. Leviatán's economy will get completely reset, and Cloud9 might end up going up to 6 if they just win this one, and they have many ults to actually challenge, very strong ones in that. And the fact that they've denied this C space completely forces Zelsis to reconsider and Cloud9 to reconsider as well. I like this fake pressure going on by Jake, though, which might pinch Mazzino.
He's going to play up into the smoke, isn't he? Clearing the turret, too. They've already drawn 3 members from Leviatán over towards A. How much more do they invest? A second tap of the door, but nobody's moving. Meanwhile, Mazzino swinging back out, and surely at this point they understand it's all a ruse.
It's a great way to even things up. They are going to spend the lockdown. Earlier in the game, you might have seen them actually just go through, but they don't have that Trailblazer to follow up and see exactly what's on site. Is there going to be a nade? There's going to be a nade. Here comes Taco. No.
Sees
Just the C's.
Jake is about to get... Oh, he turned on Shy! He invests the wall and turns around, takes care of the lurk, and they get the pit control on C. Now he's in a position to where he can hit a late flank through spawn and blow the round up.
Look at this position, though, from Taco. You're absolutely right about Jake. He's coming through spawn, but Taco has advantage on top. He can't see in the pit, though, and there's a great pit out here. Rooney can just stay outside mound.
And the benefit is that nobody can see him either. So while he's dissuaded, he's incapable of taking anyone down with him. He should be safe. Jake, what? He had 6 HP.
Safe, but can he escape here?
Is this
Absolutely not. Way too much to look at. And that's what I was talking about. This is a tough round here for Leviatán to lose because it's a reset economically. They go back down to that 1.9K from losing this one. So the buy is going to be really tough. And again, they did get success here, but they hold on a little bit too long to the C mount. And Cloud9 does a great job bringing the pressure towards A so that they rotate and leave Mazzino isolated. And you saw the double ult cascade there. That lockdown into the Viper Spit is so difficult to deal with. Taco might be playing insane right now, but the strategy from Cloud9 is completely nullifying that explosiveness from him.
Zeppa grabbing that orb there, gets the Seekers online. Lagging a little bit behind on this hit towards C. Meanwhile, Leviatán intent on pushing A. And there is some help here, courtesy of Zelsis. He's able to cover the flank, give some room for his teammate to breathe. Cloud9 are just doing such a good job of remaining fluid. They're not really committing to either which side. They're just waiting to feel the push and pull of the map, how the round is going, and what Leviatán are showing them, and then being opportunistic and advantageous on the other side of that. Oh. Well done by Mazzino.
I'm still loving the gusto, though, from Leviatán. The fact that they're still going for kills after their initial plans failed is not something that we are normally used to seeing from Leviatán. And look at this. Shy's getting really deep, almost goes down drop, and they've got advantage here.
That's huge. He should be able to upgrade a weapon.
Healing over here.
Tough to pick up, though, when they're watching the cross.
Yeah, Zeppa is 1 HP.
Recalling my bot.
Zelsis is, for all intents and purposes, here alone. Unless Zeppa can pull off something insane.
There's still not that much util anymore here from Leviatán.
And they don't have really guns. I mean, they've got 2 Stingers and the Sheriff.
What they're doing is just waiting for that Killjoy turret to find something.
Well done by Zelsis, finding the right timing to take down Nosler. King upgraded the weapon, and it's the last one that remains. King in a 1v2. He was so good in his previous series, but he doesn't just have to deal with Zeppa and Zelsis right now. He's got the clap that's not on his side either. 6-1 for Cloud9.
This has been a snowball.
Move as a unit, okay?
Cloud9 surprisingly have only
some hero messing
won
things up.
one of those gun rounds. Outside of that bonus conversion, which definitely they invested into, so you could also count that. But everything else has been anti-ecos, pistols, those sorts of things. And they've gotten close here for Leviatán. They're just not able to bring it through. And in this round, you could clearly see the deficiency As it falls down to some of that utility missing there, they didn't have anything else to take initiative. This is initiative though. Odin spam and a pit as well to completely contain this A site. Think about what Jake was doing in the prior round where he was bringing a lot of pressure. That's not available anymore. And Cloud9, let's see if they just go straight for the jugular elsewhere.
Do they dare tap the door? Do they push out towards B? You see the satchel out. And 2 members of Leviatán have already fallen.
That's massive there, out from Leaf. Whatever you saw off of that Trailblazer, I heard it from the stage. Hit, 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 hit. They weren't planning on doing it, but he was very happy with what he saw. Instantly satchels in.
At this point, Leviatán are at such a deficit in the round, even with the utility that they have, it's going to be so difficult to work their way in. And there are layers to this. Elsys is still playing pretty far back. He still has 2 nanos. There's a lot of safety to this round for Cloud9. Even with that, the 3v2 Shy flashed. Has to take a step back. Jake is once again on a vintage Jake flank, finding just the right timing, spotting the last. Nasr has to tuck. He's got to run away to try to save this weapon, and it seems like Cloud9 want to hunt.
And they're gaining confidence here.
I mean, they've got him surrounded. They've got him surrounded. Oh! How does he survive both?
Even that, though, it's not the biggest punch into Cloud9 there.
No, it's just more about Nasr being able to save his.
Right, 100%. And I'm saying they're gaining confidence here because you're seeing Rooney make plays like walk into his Viper Orb that he's not sure it's clear.
Yeah.
There's a Prowler on the other side, so he's gonna get cleared out when they go for the execute, but he's dropping it right as the timing is perfect for him. And making a solo play, which I 100% love. It's a risky one, but one that can catch Leviatán off guard by so much. And what you want to do is disrupt those retakes before they happen. And that's been the game plan for Cloud9 the entire time. But then as well, earlier on, you saw them be really slow. The Trailblazer clears the entire site and they walk in.
Yeah,
you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
This time, you see nothing and you realize that they're overextended on both sides of the map. Really good call from whoever on Cloud9 made that one. And this has gotten out of control here for Leviatán. We heard a lot about how they weren't playing like it was their last chance earlier on in this event when they played against Crew and they got stomped in that first match. And then they felt like they got their bearings against Sentinels. But now you're up against a different beast. This is a team that's beaten you twice now. And when you get off to a start like this, those thoughts creep back into your head. Are they just really going to do this again? Are we cursed against this team? That's when it starts really taking effect.
Maybe the timeout is enough for them to stabilize and try to right the ship.
Got the fade raise over here.
It's been all Cloud9. There's the paranoia, there's the C's, there's the nade.
Well, that's a really interesting position to throw it, given that there's no Omen on this side. And Leaf hasn't really gone for a satchel across too often.
Yeah, and Mizzino has been very consistent in taking this space. We've seen them post him up here a couple of times, but you're right, there hasn't been a ton.
Nice, love this. Getting in front of the wall right now so he can actually play with this one way, which he just refreshed, by the way.
Yeah, there's still plenty of time on this.
He will eventually have to fall back, but they're going through drive.
And Taco's the one who gets a kill. He ults. He's going to spot another, and he cleans him up. Rudy's down.
It keeps Jake isolated right now. Can they actually use this time to take him down?
I wasn't sure if they knew where he was, but the swing up from Taco confirms the suspicions, but the kills get traded back and forth, leaving Zelsis alone. A 1v3, a rifle in the hands of Nasr too.
Coming back.
And he's not far off.
That's a fantastic read there from Leviatán.
Zelsis has to make a play. He's got to isolate this 1v1, and he got what he wanted, but it was still too much.
Right out of the timeout. That used to be places where you would fear owner getting involved in the conversation. And there's an example of why that used to be the case. Can he find that form again in LCQ? And you can tell, I mean, they went for a denial on the A side. And that's not necessarily even because they're really expecting Cloud9 to go for some crazy thing, but they do, you know, prevent that so that their secondary follow-up can be good. And that's now twice where they've had such a good plan for Taco's ult. And you can see why earlier on. You're putting a lot of emphasis on getting him some of those defensive side orbs, which again, be control here. This smoke again. Taco's gonna get the orb up one more time. No, that's Nasr.
Now has the Nightfall to play with, so they get the orb, they get the alarm bot down, and they give the space right back. They just retreat, reset around the rest of the map. You want to hear how Froggy King decides to get? You see what the setup was? That's so pretty. Playing in the orb, expecting the haunt to tag, and then being able to spam from it.
And this is where things can get scary if you're Cloud9 against this Leviatán squad. When their prep is working like that, it's very difficult to try to counteract, especially when it comes to getting first kills, which Leviatán has been dominating on, by the way.
Hey, even look at the guns that they have right now. King is the only one with a Phantom. The only one who could have safely made a spam play from that position. This is just so well considered.
That ult. Mazino's going for info. Could have been dangerous because he didn't spot Jake inside of the smoke, but
30 seconds left.
that Nightfall comes through. Doesn't spot anybody. Now they spot 2 because of Taco Jiggle peeking on stairs here.
I wonder at what point Leviatán going to start to realize that once they find Jake, they know that the hit is more likely than not elsewhere on the map. Perhaps they start getting a jump on these, but either way, Cloud9 committed to having some presence A, but the spike is C, and it's there by itself.
Yeah, and you're hoping that those 2 players could have gotten something done,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, QB sneak has just been pulled. They're asking his team, they're asking Zelsis for a 1v5 here, is what Cloud9 just did. What a position, too. It's a complete one and done. And he might just get one, actually, and he might be able to get a lockdown on the spike. Oh!
There's still just so much to do. I want to believe and I want to get excited, but he's so far from it. Mazino's just going to stick to defuse.
Yeah.
There's nothing that Zelsis can do to challenge it back.
There was a chance there. I'm curious if he had actually planted a little closer to himself. If he gets just a completely free lockdown there, he has to cross all the way across to put that down. And obviously, with the pressure on the defuse, way too much. There was actually a chance there. I wasn't expecting one to actually present itself at all, but either way, Leviatán get to 3, and they're really needing the next couple here.
Yeah. Can Cloud9 have 4 ults to work with? Leaf is not too far off from his. He's had a quiet game so far. And you see how they are prioritizing getting the mid orb from Leviatán. So it's not just getting Leaf one step closer to having the showstopper, but denying Leviatán the resource that they've so heavily invested to throughout this half.
Well, in this case, Leviatán doesn't have any ults left to really cascade up, except maybe Mazino's, and that's not going to find that much use. So you completely fall off of the idea of getting these orbs, but you're right, it gives up that resource to Cloud9, who just got 2 orbs for Leaf to go crazy with.
Well, will he go crazy? Oh! 61 HP. The guy was melted. They invest the Seekers, the Showstopper, and the Cosmic Divide, and the Pit. They've thrown almost everything they have at this round. Zelsis' ult is the one thing that has not been invested.
And normally you're able to use the lockdown to get yourself in position for this pit. This time they use everything else.
And there it is, the final part.
It's so nice. They have the lockdown to counter the other lockdown, and there's even a nade going in too to cancel Leviatán's.
Mazino's okay. He's got to be careful here.
Oh.
Yeah, he got detained. He's not under threat.
There's no time anymore here to get through this pit.
Yeah.
There's no resources either. Nelswer still has actually a Prowler, but I think this is going to be.
It has to be explosive. It has to be now.
They're saving.
Yeah.
It's only King, who has 5.7, who's staying around. And remember, this would have been a reset, so some players here would be losing the opportunity to buy in the next, and they might even do a lot more damage than just that. No, the 3 players who might not have a chance next round to get something up are safe on that A side.
And that brings us to the very last round of this opening half of this best of 5. Again, lower finals, crew waiting on the other side with 1 spot left up for grabs at Champs.
It'll be the last spot, too. Pacific will be done. EMEA, we already know the 2 LCQ qualifiers.
And that leaves all eyes on us. All eyes on these 2 teams to see who gets to qualify, who gets to dance with crew for the big one. It's interesting, through all of that previous round, King is, and he would have to get every single orb, or 1, 2, and a kill. to have his pit online.
And you need, when the Viper, you need something that comes up really early so you can actually consider the strat. You saw it earlier.
You're right. Whoa, Celsius.
There's a double peek attempt there from Celsius and Jake. You've been seeing that. One of them working through the orb while the other takes down the turret.
Toxins going up.
But he gets punished this time by Shy.
I mean, they almost got punished by both of them falling. Celsius was down to 61 HP. He's got healed up by Zeppa, but Cloud9 are falling apart here.
And look at this, Cloud9 as well. Have to trailblazer through the one-way from Mizzino, who's been doing such a fantastic job at keeping mound control.
Bomb grenade out.
They do leave him alone, but right now he has a flash too. So much delay.
Yeah, he's been very good here. Him being alone might not matter, and now Taco's shown up. Mizzino's already gotten the first 3 bullets to get the second, make that 2. Ultimately falls, and once again, Celsius in a 1v impossible.
30 seconds left.
These sites open right now. Will we find that opportunity? King is coming back just in time to deny the plant potentially.
No armor, 91 HP. Remember, he was the one who was beaten and pattered at the opening of the round.
Noswar and Shy even have a high-low here.
Yeah, that's raps.
So well considered. I mean, a good recovery here from Leviatán. They were winning a lot of these first engagements, which I thought gave them a lot of advantages. But Cloud9 strategically was winning these battles. And then as well, just getting the cascade of really important key swing rounds, making it impossible for them to really get into the game, and they've done it anyways. So an 8-4 half is definitely very doable here for Leviatán.
It was really off of the owner timeout, right? They'd seen loss and they seemed a little discombobulated, but off that timeout, they put together a couple of rounds and get them to a 4-8 half. Cloud9 still up. Golden Boy, what do you make of the first half?
Well, what I make of it is that we at the very least have ourselves a competitive matchup with Leviatán managing to get themselves right back into the 8-4. It's not the craziest scoreline for Leviatán, but, you know, a few rounds, you're right back into this one. But C9 showed that they are a deadly squad here at the beginning, Sean.
Yeah, I love the approach out of Cloud9. I mean, from the get-go, they were willing to kind of dry walk into C in these mid-rounds. Third round, they did the same. And Leviatán didn't really have answers. I think Cloud9 took a little bit of a page out of Crew's book, because this is how Crew took out Leviatán. But then Leviatán settled into this game mainly on that thrifty hold on long A by Mizzino. I think he came up big for them.
But it's really interesting to see how their comp changed without this Neon. Previously, it was a lot of these really fast hits. Here, they're slowing it down. Still mid-rounding the same way they did with the Neon. But on these site execs, it's a lot more of those contact plays you were talking about. And also, what's interesting about the comp change is who's playing the agents. Because Zeppa has switched over to the Sky. Normally on Raze maps, he's their Raze player. But instead, he stays on a roll. He's played a lot in their old comp, and he is looking so good, especially compared to his last match versus Crew.
Yeah, Zeppa's been turning up this game for sure. I want to add to the mid-rounding aspect that you talked about. Shout out to Rooney, because he's inserting people front B, oftentimes himself or Zelsis on Killjoy, and so allows them to push-pull between C and A without worrying about that B pressure, which is very key for Cloud9. A lot of times, they like to over-rush and go too fast, but now they're inserting players in areas that they know you can't get pushed from, and just push-pulling back and forth. It's looking great.
With their last comp, Cloud9 was the best team in Americas at defense on Lotus, but they're going to change the way they play with this one. It was previously defined by fast rotations with the Neon. Here, watch instead how they're stalling with that Raze nade. I'd expect a lot more of these set retakes that they've shown to be really good at throughout LCQ.
Yeah, there are going to be some change-ups here. We're interested to see how this all plays out in the second half. I'll send it back over to Doug and Bala.
Thanks so much, GB. 4-round lead for Cloud9 on their map pick. Pearl on the other side, which has plenty of history on its own, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But for now, really the onus on Leviatán Bala to get this pistol and to start some momentum on this attacking side on Lotus.
Absolutely. I think they did a great job getting Taco involved in some of those first engagements, but they started to falter when Cloud9 threw some of these curveballs at them. Now that Leviatán is in the driving seat in terms of giving information and trying to push on these sites, they might take the pace up a notch completely.
You see Zelsis having to run away to try to preserve life. Rooney's there with him, and the rotations from the defense are starting to arrive already.
Yeah, they just used a lot of their initiation power there, though. Mizzino used his paranoia through, and he actually puts a smoke on top of the site, too. So once this orb goes down, they might have a way to just walk through. The alarm bot's deep, though.
Remember how much value Cloud9 found on contact plays onto the site just like this. Leviatán trying to do a bit of the same, give them a taste of their own medicine. Zelsis having to reposition and stay alive, and does.
They actually miscommunicated where they wanted to throw that C's nade. That could have caught the pillar there, but both the utils went in different spots.
Look at how close they are up. The sky flash is so high, and they all swing out at the same time, but it's tit for tat. 3v2 now in favor of Cloud9. Zealous this week. Shy on the swing. The first shot not landing. Second one doesn't either. Meanwhile, Nas, we're not missing. He tried making outrageous play, and he got dangerously close. So that's another round for Cloud9.
It's very important that situation stabilized from them because they started running it down when it became a 3v1. We've seen many mistakes be made just like that on crucial rounds like the pistol. Could have caused an explosion backstage of rage. Right now, though, Leviatán needed that to get back into this easily. They've made it hard for themselves now. And you could think just a little execute difference, and that could have been a massive, massive win for them. Instead, now look at this. They're buying up full sheriffs, even on the characters who won't have util next round, just to potentially get spam damage on this A side right now. You hear the shots being fired off.
Spike's not even in tow currently. But they've crept pretty far up towards A main.
There.
You see the Prowler from Zeppa so that Rooney can take some of the space back.
Leviatán just tried to use the gap of smoke timings there to try to find a kill on Leaf. They didn't get it, though. No damage found at all. Rooney up close. Famous Cloud9 Stinger buys up here, too, on their anti-eco. Which again, Sheriff seems like a good proposition, but can also be quite dangerous if you start giving up some of those stingers in close range engagements.
Through all of this and the 30 seconds left in the round, they haven't taken any
30
damage.
seconds left.
And this is where the gun difference that Cloud9 have proves to be even more and more powerful and more difficult for Leviatán to have to navigate.
And Leviatán need a plant here. They absolutely need a plant.
I don't think they're going to get that even.
One enemy remaining.
I mean, that might have put him away.
After all of that, you mentioned it was like a minute of working the map and getting a lot of space from Cloud9. They got all the way up B Heaven before they really took a real engagement there. And they should have had a plant because they had all that space.
Yep.
But instead, it's late, labored. And now they're going to be relying on a lot of people with no util here. Shy, no nano swarms. King, no mollies. Post plant's out the window entirely. They still get the light armor vandal, though. So it's a dangerous situation still. But Cloud9 won that bonus in the first half. If they do it again here, the game is over.
Look at how much help they already have. Cloud9 do with the revolving door. Zeppa's there with the flash, pushing them back. And they're so intent on drawing a line in the sand here for Cloud9. Not only do they invest the flash and tap the door, but they dropped multiple stars to keep them back.
And it looked like they were trying to commit into that. But Jake was a little late, and they end up canceling anyway, so he recalls the stars. Leviatán uses a lot, though, to get back through that nade. Paranoia. Again, a Prowler as well. Taco gets up an orb. And it does pull the rotates here. This is where Cloud9 is in uncomfortable territory given their last comp. The Neon was able to get so fast over towards C and back to A if they needed to. It could cover up the gaps of over rotation. And right now they have. It's just Zelsis alone here.
That's such a good point. You can see he has a couple things considered, though. The Nano at the door to buy some time. He's going to push into it. Boy, he wanted to go. May have been for the best that he didn't fit. But the second time through, the spam cleans him up. The thing is, the spike is still not out. Zelsis has done a good job to delay because the members of Cloud9 are already here.
This orb is falling. King's in a weird position. Leaf is out backside.
They've already got two. Leviatán have. They're going to get them all. They do. A great response from Leviatán at just the right time.
And Cloud9 had an opportunity there. If that call was slightly later and they got the timing right on that C mound crunch, that could have been devastating for the state of the game. Instead, Leviatán uses really good misdirection. And they hold on strongly. Look at this position from King. This is where I was saying it's precarious, sure, but it's also a nasty off angle. You never expect somebody right behind the smoke there on that box.
Exact same setup for Leviatán, or at least pretty freaking similar to it. The Haunt, and then they try to take the Spade Sword C-Mount. But this time, there's no Cloud9 presence at door. Taco's going. He's going in aggressively. He's spotted Rooney, but he somehow managed to dodge shield. Zelsis is here to help. How is Rooney still alive?
They're trying to spam him down.
He hasn't taken a single bit of damage.
He literally walked into Jake's own grab wall, and here's the flank from Leaf. They still got more here, though. Zeppa's here to cross with Jake. Oh, and it goes the wrong way.
They have no idea Jake is here. Do they consider it? How patient is Jake? He swings out at the right time. Cleans up 2, expecting a 3rd. Shy is just so weak, but he doesn't have time to really think this one through. He's got to swing out and challenge, take the fight. Mazzino did not help him. Zeppa gets them both.
And look how quick the Cloud9 players there are to join up against each other too. Zeppa takes that Prowler contact, makes a lot of noise for Jake. That's a bait setup. Jake rakes in the 2 kills. And then instantly Zeppa is joining right behind him, hip to hip. They know there's no flashes in this comp other than Mazzino. And they're happy to stand in an angle like that to collect the last 2. Beautiful stuff. This moment right here, Zeppa getting in this position with Jake is something that I highly commend. The fact that he's able to do that within the 3 seconds since Jake's kills.
We're going into this one fast, and for good reason, too. Everyone's already here. It's just Rooney who's on the opposite side of the map, and through the flashes, through the walls, they then walk away with 2. They invest in Nightfall, too, and they're going to get on to A.
And Rooney did get here in time to really understand what's going on. Despite everybody falling away from B, deafened up there.
Dude, this is what I'm talking about, man. King is just so bold.
It's been a quiet game from him up to this point, but as the Leviatán players start to heat up, you definitely look towards King in every single one of his games so far. In every single one of his series, he's had a massive monster game. He had almost 300 ACS when they were getting stomped against Crew. Moments against Sentinels as well. Probably one of the most consistent IGLs in terms of individual level as well.
He's going to have to do so much more, though, if they want to take this Lotus map. It's interesting here. Rooney has normally been by himself towards C, but there's a lot of help this time.
Trying to punish an orb pickup here. Is what's going on with the flash through. Great movement.
Excellent movement. All it does is buy some time, though. It delays. Mazzino's there, though, from the back, providing cover.
Yeah. And Rooney full blind has no way to escape this situation.
The paranoia and then the Prowler in his face.
And I am loving as well Mazzino's extra smoke that he's throwing before actually engaging into this on top of C so that nobody can actually assist from range. And with this turret not spotting anything right now, they have information across back. Zelsis does get the info too, so Leaf will be here. And you're wondering what follows. Cloud9 love to invest ults into eco rounds just like this, but in a 2v4, you're definitely not expecting it.
He has 2 satchels.
But 1 kill, that's all it takes for him to spring.
There it is.
He popped it! He popped it! Nade back up!
It's a 1v2. Oh, he tried going for the gun. He was just so weak.
And imagine that situation too. Shy is weak. He's isolated from Nosworth.
Yeah.
That Stinger's instantly making mincemeat of him. And then you pick up the Vandal and you can take a 1v1. That is just crazy. But they've wasted key pieces. It's been one of the reasons why some of these games have gone completely out of reach for Cloud9. Some of the maps as well has been their insistence on investing important pieces of utility in the form of ultimates. And it might let Leviatán back into this game too. Those sort of power ults are ones that you want to keep to get towards those key rounds, and you were deep into this. Everybody on the other side of this wall, what is Taco? Right through it.
As a couple of members fall, both teams reset. They take a step back, and there's a Killjoy fight across B. Going in favor of Zelsis. They invest the Seekers too. Cloud9.
Oh, he's stuck, he's stuck.
And I'm drawing a line in this map, really, off of this round. Leviatán with very few options here.
tough position to be in.
Yeah.
And against the Leaf, he's still fully kitted and completely understanding what's going on. Look at this reclear that they're calling right now. They're going to be way faster into that B link than you expect to.
Oh. They're committing to this. Leviatán have to win this round.
They're holding on.
They've
Both
got
of them
to
going
pick
to heaven
out.
right now.
That's, oh my gosh, they've already gotten 2. Rooney's gonna get spotted by 1. Leaf is the only one who hasn't been detected, and he gets king.
That's the pit down.
That's all of it. Rooney saves it. Holy smokes, that was way closer than I thought it was gonna be.
Oh. That was insanely tight there. Cloud9 up to match point though, and it's off of a fantastic round from the players holding on A. But it's also Leviatán trying to force through that wall. Taco had a little bit of initiative there by himself. Went completely against 3 people on the other side of that wall because he was trying to punish and tunnel vision. He still got that kill. But because of that, Leviatán had to try to save him. And they lost 2 more for it.
Let's flush them out.
Potentially final round here, Cloud9 have the ability to close out this map.
With 2 big ults on defense too. And Celsius is locked down, and then Jake's Cosmic Divide. So they have some serious tools. Just gotta be able to convert. Is that gonna clear out any of the utility that's set up by Celsius? No, I don't think it will.
So good from Celsius to reposition it here too, because Leviatán has been doing a great job getting up close on C. So that molly's intended to clear out Celsius's mollies so that they can go for a double satchel play in. Instead, they have no information on what's happened. And there's still 2 mollies up on site to deny this plant completely on the site.
Taco might still commit to this. He just got his ult off of that orb, and he says 1 satchel, and there it is. That's the go, and it's traded 1 for 1. A commitment of the ult to get back site, but Celsius is still alive. The utility is still at play here. It's still going to be really difficult to get through this.
With this KJ ult too, they're going to have to push it. There's only 1 player right now. The flash coming in from Celsius.
Oh, so good! The timing of that flash was gorgeous! Semple from downtown secures the round and secures the map for Cloud9.
Right in front of their faces. And there was definitely a gap there. Leviatán was trying to take down that lockdown. But it's a strong start here in this best of 5. A long way to go for Cloud9 still. But impressive when you switch up the comps like that and you have everybody still on. I mean, Leaf in particular, so many nice little nade spots, really comfortable on the agent, which we know is good on Raze.
Right.
That's not even a question. But still also getting the same impact in terms of rotations and ability to adapt to what Leviatán is doing. Very nice game from Cloud9.
For Leviatán too, they continue to show some grit and some fight. They had some really cool ideas that we're starting to execute. Again, I think about on the other side of the timeout in the first half, how they were able to rally and keep it competitive. And you can't help but wonder, given how we saw this end, had it been a more competitive opening to the first half, likely a much closer game, but...
If they got the pistol.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
If Noswer takes that 1v3, if they don't miss the nade molly or the nade C's combination, this could have been a completely different start to that half by themselves. And I think it's important that we've seen multiple times now, Cloud9 starting off really strong on map 1 can absolutely falter in the next one. So just because one team or another is having good form, you can tell in this game in particular, the pistols, those anti-ecos, the bonuses, those conversions matter so much in appearing like it's a stomp when it's really not.
Well, and again, to consider, again, it's a best of 5, right? So even as you see kind of the ebb and flow of how these teams are playing over time, that's ultimately what it comes down to. We also have to remember, Pearl is what's on the other side of this. Throughout the regular season, Leviatán were undefeated on Pearl. The one nuance is that Pearl, it's had some changes. Leviatán have not played the new map yet on the stage. We'll see how it turns out on the other side of this break. We'll be right back. He's already netted himself a second one with the third.
This guy's just farming.
And Leaf delivers.
Genera un fake defuse. Pues las dos eliminaciones. El clutch para Shai.
Have you ever asked yourself after a bad game, what am I missing? Or sought help from impatient friends? Or browsed desperately for answers that only bring up more questions? Your self-doubting days are over with Discovery, the first game-focused AI. Discovery is trained on the world's leading esports athletes to be your everyday personal coach. That's right, Discovery can help you improve your gameplay by giving you tips and strategies to take your game to the next level. Get started at aimlabs.com/discovery.
Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull gives you wings.